Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is October the 17th, 2019. Strong hand. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. I am still offended by selling people. Conviction. Yeah, I'm in Sydney, Australia, doing a new show every day. I got a good night's sleep last night. Hello, my elite friends. I am pumped to be here. And I just want to remind everyone this week in Bitcoin is tomorrow. Hass McCook will be on it. And also Adriana Bellotti, I am mispronouncing her name. Bellotti, she was on the show back in July of 2017. She will return. She's here in Sydney. I'll be hanging out with her pretty soon. And again with Hass. Sydney is a beautiful city. The sun from my balcony in this beautiful Airbnb. This is a great Airbnb. I'm in the Ultimo neighborhood. It is beautiful here. The sun, you don't want to be too much out in the sun there, but it is pouring in on it. Just a safe, beautiful city. I'm so impressed. I was here in 2015. I'm impressed once again. And thank you, Hass and Adriana and everyone here for making it an awesome Bitcoin city and just an awesome, pretty city. I can't say enough of it. I'm from Baltimore. Pound that like button. Of course, I think it's beautiful and safe here. But compared to LA also, man, this is better than LA. What a world. It's a completely different day here. I'm not even going to say what time it is here or what day it is here. It's just so much different. I'm still getting used to the days. Okay, enough of me talking about traveling around the world in Sydney. But if you are here, links below to the events that are coming up this coming week. And the 23rd, you can hang out with me at a meetup with me and a bunch of people. It'll be fine. It's all linked to below if you're in Sydney. I've got a lot of links to below as we're talking about a lot of stuff in this video. I try to summarize everything as best as I can in the summary area below the video, but I only have a limited amount of space. It cuts you off after a while. So if you check out the links, you can see all the subject matters I'm going to talk about. So that's a little shortcut there. Another shortcut is to play this at 2x to just get through it faster. Time is very valuable. And so here is the first thing from Bitcoin. Yeah, the Bitcoin Twitter feed. The one that used to be controlled by Bcash, apparently. Anyway, I don't... The 2012 halving reduced the new supply by $320,000 per week. The 2016 halving reduced the new supply by $8 million a week. The 2020 halving will reduce the new supply by $63 million per week. What do you think will happen to the price of Bitcoin? What do you think will happen to Bitcoin? Well, we shall see. But I never seen it. Explained that way. The halving, how it the new supply. We know how much the new supply gets cut in terms of Bitcoin, but in terms of price, and again, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. But in terms of the United States dollar fiat price, that's a very interesting way of describing it and really puts it in perspective. Now, again, the price fluctuates. So we say it's going to be the new supply is going to be reduced by 63 million. I assume that's based on the current price, which I don't even know what it is now. Okay, 8,000 or something like that. BTC Moon. Again, if you've got questions, type in Bitcoin Meister. And Vention, first of all, BTC Moon says laugh out loud, and Vention says laugh out loud. The real thing. He's talking about this shirt. Whoever made that shirt was probably as old as I am, says Vention. Yeah, it's a reference to it's the real thing. It's a reference to Coca-Cola, obviously, because it's Bitcoin, like the Coca-Cola thing. And a long time ago, apparently, you can't beat the real thing, Coca-Cola. You can't beat the real thing in terms of Bitcoin. In terms of Coca-Cola, you surely can, but that's poison. You can always beat poison. Pound that like button. How long was the fast on this trip, Roman Q says? It was exactly 54 and a half hours. And it ended once I finally got settled in this Airbnb. It took me a little while. And I actually picked up some food from around the corner, some beautiful avocados, really big avocados here, yeah? It's good. These are from New Zealand, apparently. What's it say? Haas avocados, premium New Zealand. All right. So yeah, the fast was good. I'll talk more about that on Saturday's show. Everybody tune into the Beyond Bitcoin show on Saturday. Oh my God, Bitcoin Hoopty said BCH is the new Coke. Yeah, I've heard that comparison before. And then 123 No Scope said, imagine how much the cut will be at the 2024 halving. Yeah, dude, we can only imagine that now because we have no idea what the fiat price will be leading up into that. Let me check out. I can't even see what this looks like now. It's very interesting, my setup. Yeah, I need to take a shower too, by the way, man. And shave. I put a bunch of I put organic coconut oil on my face when I went running this morning because I don't like sunscreen, but I'm going to have to hit the sunscreen eventually once I get a little later in the day. This is serious sun. But I went, what time did I go? I went running 5 miles. It was like 6:50 a.m. or something like that here. Again, let's not get into what time it is now. I don't want to confuse everybody. Pound that like button if you like the time difference. I mean, it is a whole different world here. To get everything situated in terms of times of getting people in the show, I just said I'm going to take it easy. I'm just going to get Australians on the show with me today, man. I'm not going to worry about what time it is in LA, what time it is in Baltimore, what time it is in London. It's wild, man. All right, I've really been not talking about Bitcoin during this show. Pound that like button. So we will talk about Bitcoin. Now, so let's talk about, I'm about to say, let's talk about Libra. But I said, let's talk about Bitcoin, but I'm going to talk about Libra. But it's a tie into Bitcoin. I am impressed. And I'm not usually impressed by senators, United States senators, but one of them from South Dakota of all the states in the Union. And I have been to South Dakota before. So few Americans can say that. But there's a letter from Senator Rounds of South Dakota it was sent actually to a company in his state saying that he supports Libra. Now I linked to the letter itself is quite inspirational. All these people complaining about Libra, wanting to regulate it, wanting bribes from it, et cetera, et cetera. He says he loves that entrepreneurial spirit. He talks about the innovation of cryptocurrency. This guy gets it. Cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, they're not about regulation. They are about innovation, bringing wealth to all sorts of people around the world, freeing people. This guy's letter was really good. And usually I take it for granted. I think most of these Congress people, they have no idea what the heck they're talking about. And so they have no idea how this stuff works, but he does. So this was, if you care about Libra, this should give you hope that it's got a chance. It will happen eventually. So let's read off this specifically. Mike Rounds wrote a letter to the Libra Association member Anchorage, a South Dakota-based trust company, endorsing the Facebook-led project and citing it as an example of a technological advance he feels is needed to aid U.S. consumers. It would be and I'm reading from a CoinDesk article. It would be unfortunate to shun a new solution that could connect more of the most vulnerable Americans to our financial services system. So this is great. Instead of like creating new welfare schemes for poor people, getting them poorer, he wants to let them take part in this free market, this new private money, which will eventually get them into Bitcoin. Now, he might not believe in that, but he believes in compete, don't complain. He knows that the dollar, for some people to get into the dollar financial system in terms of banks, they're censored. They're not allowed. They're prevented. And this will be a way for them to get into the traditional financial system or the not so traditional financial system. He is confident in his United States dollar. He doesn't feel threatened by Libra. He wants it. So good for him. And I think he knows it will be good for his state. But his state is getting into cryptocurrency, just like Wyoming is creating all these friendly friendly laws toward cryptocurrency. So is South Dakota, from what I have heard. So most vulnerable Americans, and yeah, it's a golden age. Compete, don't complain. He realizes that it's a golden age here. As it stands, we have no clear legal way. This is beautiful. We have no clear legal way to ascertain whether a cryptocurrency is a security. So he doesn't want to call everything a security, which is great. What legal foundation we do have for these types of questions is rooted in the Securities Act of 1933. That's the last time, by the way, the Washington baseball team was in the World Series. That law was written more than a half century before computers and the internet were created. Well, before the internet was created. And more than 2 decades before Hawaii was admitted to the United States. A decade before the jet engine was developed. And in a period of time in which 90% of rural America lacked electricity. So this dude, he understands. You want to, people out there, these sociopathic congressmen, they want to put this cryptocurrency, they want to put Libra, they want to put Bitcoin into this box from freaking 1933. He knows the world has changed since then, that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, it can't be looked at in the light of even the 1900s. We're talking about the 2020s. You got to look at it from a 2020s perspective, a golden age perspective. And this dude from freaking South Dakota understands that. So I'm glad he spoke up, and more people should be talking about it. And especially those lines about Hawaii and the jet engine and et cetera, et cetera. Roman Q says 80%er regulation, 80%ers regulate and complain, 20%ers compete and don't complain. You're absolutely right. The 80%ers are compliant. The 20%ers are defiant. Now, so in the United States, we got a cool dude in South Dakota. Let's contrast this to this French leader. His name is Bruno Le Maire. I'm mispronouncing it because I'm from Baltimore and I don't give a darn. Pound that like button. But beware, he says beware of Libra. This is a summation of what he says. Beware of Libra. It will undermine the monetary sovereignty of developing nations. At the same time, he also says African nations should continue using the CFA franc, which is pegged to the euro and managed by France. So he doesn't care about undermining the monetary sovereignty of developing nations. He thinks Facebook's Libra is going to do that, while he's telling them to stay addicted to this fake, this fiat coin that they have in a certain of the former French colonies that is pegged to the euro. I mean, it's totally hypocritical. He doesn't care about their monetary sovereignty. He wants them hooked on the euro. He wants them pegged to the euro. So it's complete nonsense. He knows that the euro can't compete with the Libra, can't compete with Bitcoin, he is nervous and threatened by companies being as powerful as former powerful nations, because France, it lives on its past glory, basically. I mean, it's still a powerful country relative to most, but I mean, it's because the French language and all of its former colonies still speak it, and they're somewhat still tethered to France, and they have nukes. So I mean, I'm not going to rip on France. You can read the tweet yourself and see that this dude is, so many of the French politicians and European politicians, when it comes to monetary policy, are ridiculous because they love their euro. And Charlton, I haven't seen Charlton for a while. Hey, dude, thanks for the show. All right, and who else? 123 No Scope says, do you think legislation will change during the next bull run? That's a good question. Once the fiat price goes past the all-time high, Bitcoiners will be able to donate and possibly control politicians who want Bitcoin. Very good question. Very good question. If some of these major countries like the United States are slow to regulate, and which they have been quite slow to regulate, and then it goes to some really high number in terms of fiat, they will have a harder time creating negative legislation, because people will a lot of people's wealth, maybe friends of theirs' wealth, some of these senators' wealth will be tied up in Bitcoin right then. And there will be a large constituency, a wealthy constituency saying, hey, now we're super wealthy. Listen to us. And these senators and congressmen are very likely to listen to wealthier people. That's just the way they are. So yeah, very interesting question. And yeah, I as you can tell, I don't worry about regulation very much. They can't stop the Bitcoin. Has McCook is in the house. I mean, he's like in the city, but he's leaving a comment. He's going to be on This Week in Bitcoin tomorrow, and he says, "Arrived late for the Hass avocado." Yeah, man, I was thinking about you because I mean it's spelled the same way as your first name. Dude, Hass is an interesting guy. So everyone, his last name is McCook. So what do you think his ethnicity is? Hass McCook of Australia. We'll reveal that at the end of the show, if I remember. I was wrong about it, but what's it sound like? He's an Australian. His name is Hass McCook. What's it sound like where he's from? I mean, okay, moving on, where his ancestors are from. Wow, I got a lot to talk about on today's show. Again, check out the links below, people. And I appreciate all the comments there. John Matonis, technology doesn't do bad things. People do. And that's a great final tweet that goes with the previous two tweets, that were the French guy and the South Dakotan. South Dakotan understands technology doesn't do bad things. People do. I don't think that French guy gets it. I don't think the governments are so used to doing bad things, they think technology does bad things. But no, people do. People can use technology for good and for bad. So don't get caught up in it when people say, ooh, Bitcoin is used to sell drugs. And yeah, it's people are using it that way. People can use the dollar bill for that. People can use Hass avocados for dealing, you can smuggle in a lot. Hass avocados, when I was once in the Baltimore Washington International Airport, I had a bunch of Hass avocados in my carry-on bag. They had to search them because I guess they thought they were grenades or something like that. So Hass avocados can do bad things, right? What is that all about? I don't know why I said that. Has nothing to do with what I was. But yes, people could do bad things with Hass avocados. That's what I mean. Hass avocados can't do bad things. Ugh. I'm losing the point. Pound that like button. Yeah, I got a little bit of jet lag still, I guess. A little bit. It's just confusing. It's confusing that it's whatever time it is here. What I got is I can't tell what time it is. I just can't tell. By looking outside, I can't tell. I have to look at the clock there. And then I see, yeah. All right. Yeah, man. Traveling is there's all sorts of weird, your body's rhythm. It has to get back. It has to get used to it again. But I'm almost used to it because of my fasting, because I'm eating at a normal time according to the clock. Hass McCook says Hass brand is always the biggest and the best. You know it, dude. And he says Hass always gets stopped at the airport. There's a hint for everyone there what his ethnicity is. There's a little hint there. Okay. Now, what's this tweet by Mark Hochstein? What's radical is busybody A. Because people say Bitcoin is radical, but or that cryptocurrency is radical, or that this new system that people are proposing is radical. He says what's radical is busybody A pressuring intermediary B to prevent individuals C and D from transacting. What's even more radical is moving to a world where every last C and D has no choice but to rely on a B, and therefore lives at the mercy of the A's. So that is a beautiful way of phrasing it. If you need to read that again, it's linked to below. But yeah, it's radical when we have centralized organizations that try to manage everyone's financial transactions. That's really radical. That's not the natural state of the world. The natural state of the world is you transact with whoever you want to, and no one bothers you. I mean, you're not hurting anyone. We're going to get close to 18 millionth Bitcoin will be mined this week, very, very soon. Don't know the exact date. Didn't want to do the math. I linked to an article about it below. But if we miss it, because tomorrow's This Week in Bitcoin, and then tomorrow's then Saturday's the Beyond Bitcoin show, I wanted to mention today, just in case it happens either on Friday or Saturday or Sunday before I go live. So enjoy, people. You should be happy. It's slowing down. It will especially slow down after the Bitcoin halving. Yeah, that's what I should have said. It's slowing down starting then. You know what I mean. And no one's guessed yet where he's from. No one. Zach actually got it right. Zach Bandera said Arabic. He is from his ancestors are from Lebanon. So there you go. His ancestors. So that's very specifically Lebanese. So there you go. I guess when you said he stopped at the airport. But I guess it says on his. I assume it says on your passport you're born in Lebanon. Yeah, that's the thing. I think most passports say what country you're born in. Then, so if you're born in some country that nobody likes anymore, you have that curse with you forever. I have a relative. The wife of one of my relatives in Uruguay. She's Jewish, but she was born in Egypt, and then she got kicked out of Egypt because she was Jewish, and so it says Egypt on her passport, her Uruguayan passport. And she doesn't even look at it because she says she cries every time she looks at where it says Egypt. But she's still hurt by being kicked out of Egypt. I mean, yeah, that's what happens when you're Jewish, dude. All right, pound that line. But again, no, I'm not ripping on her. All right, so yeah, she's married to my grandfather's first cousin, so she's not young. She got kicked out of Egypt after the Sinai. They kicked all the Jews out of Egypt. They said, you got like a day to get out of here, take your stuff. It was the 1956 war when they were warring directly with Israel. Anyway, so they couldn't, all their wealth was gone, lost. But anyway, moving on. Then that happened. A reason to bring that up is if they had Bitcoin back then, when the Jews got kicked out of Egypt, they just couldn't take their Bitcoin with them. Instead, they say, take what you can take on your back, and then you're out of here, dude. I don't know what the heck they talk. And they ended up in Uruguay, of all places. Yeah, all right. This show's getting way out of control. It's getting beyond Bitcoin here. So, but that is, it's the beauty of Bitcoin, this modern world now. That's why you gotta. We've mentioned all sorts of countries on the show in the past, and if you have a good stash of your wealth in Bitcoin, you can just start again. You can start again if you happen to get kicked out of a country. Or if you're forced out for other financial reasons, if a war pops up in your country, you never know what's going to happen. If Syria and Iran are influencing your country too much, that's Lebanon right there. Lebanon is just like a proxy state right now, which is unfortunate for the people in Lebanon. But that's sometimes smaller countries that's what happens. All right, what else do we have here? So we talked about what I wanted to talk about. What I found very interesting, and I don't know if I'm going to read this whole thing out. Well, there's this Twitter feed I discovered, Deribit Insights. It's linked to below. And they talk about some complex and interesting financial aspects of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Like a lot of Bitcoin maximalists won't like this because it's like some creative things. And I don't exactly like it when you get talking about lending and interest. But it is creative, and this is where the big boys play. So let the financializers financialize if they want to do that kind of thing. Let them do that kind of thing. But so someone out there has come up, and I linked to the article below. Bitcoin is so awesome that they want to create a Bitcoin stable coin on Ethereum. I mean, what will they come up with next? Now they have reasons for this. I mean, it's the US dollar. They come up with stable coins for that. the Tether and all these other ridiculous things, because it's the best. It's the best out there in terms of fiat. They love it, so they come up with these stable coins and say it's worth $1, and you got to believe it. So these people are saying we want to make a Bitcoin stable coin on Ethereum. It's worth a Bitcoin, so you better believe it. Now I have a hard freaking time believing that, but they're going to be people. They're going to be traders. They're going to be these fine people who want to play games and sort of say there's more Bitcoin out there than there really is. That are going to believe in it. So it's an interesting experiment. So let me read this out there. TBTC is a recently, and again, you don't get this kind of news anywhere else. Insider information. I don't know how much this type of insider information is going to help you. The way it should help you is don't get tempted into doing something ridiculous, buying something ridiculous like this. But let them innovate. This is innovation. TBTC is a recently announced Bitcoin peg on Ethereum. The purpose of cross-chain pegs is to replicate an asset from one chain on another while maintaining as many of its properties as possible. In other words, a cross-chain peg can turn any blockchain into a Bitcoin sidechain. A reliable Bitcoin token on Ethereum would give Bitcoin users access to capital markets, betting markets, you see things that I don't use, decentralized exchanges. Now that's interesting, as well as possible future applications like mixers. That's interesting. Private transfer, innovative custody solutions, and DAOs. At the same time, these applications would gain access to Bitcoin's superior liquidity and monetary attributes. Anyway, all I say about that is it might be an innovation, but you can't beat the real thing. Bitcoin stablecoin on Ethereum is not Bitcoin, but that article and this Durbit Insights talk about it, so read it. That's a new source of information. Let's talk about another. It's kind of an altcoin gimmick, isn't it? It's an Ethereum gimmick. Well, maybe a little bit more than a gimmick. Let's talk about a gimmick though. From my buddies at eToro. Check out This Week in Bitcoin when Yoni was on the show. The CEO of freaking eToro I had on This Week in Bitcoin a few weeks ago when I was in the land of Israel. And he's got a pure gimmick going over there now, though. eToro launches crypto portfolio weighted by Twitter mentions. So this is an unnecessary complexity to make 80%ers feel like they have insider information or some edge, okay? Ooh, I'm going to buy this altcoin portfolio that's weighted on Twitter mentions. If a bunch of people have mentioned Ripple in the last month, then it's going to have a lot of Ripple in it. I don't know how anyone could buy that except someone who does not understand how all of this works, that Bitcoin is the real Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. But some people are like, ooh, this is creative. Based on Twitter, Twitter is important. And if a lot of people, a lot of bots are mentioning Twitter and whatever and BSV, then ooh, that sounds like a good portfolio. Dudes, your portfolio should be Bitcoin, period. That's my portfolio. Check out links below if you want to get shirts like the shirts that I'm wearing or the shirt that I'm wearing. And what else do we have? Oh, this is good. This is good here. This is from Rhythm Trader. Negative yielding debt is twice the value of all gold ever mined. And put this in perspective, people. And 115 times the value of the entire Bitcoin network. That's a $17 trillion bubble people bought into, knowing they are guaranteed to lose money unless they sell it to a greater fool. The definition of a Ponzi scheme. So exactly, there are negative yielding $17 trillion are currently held in negative interest bonds. 17 trillion reasons why you should own Bitcoin. That second line was from one of the Winklevoss brothers, and they know what they're doing. But there are huge institutions, all sorts of wealthy people who buy these negative interest bonds, which are completely ridiculous financial instruments that can only exist in this crazy world that we live in. And they only buy them because they can sell them to other people. Okay? Why even play that game? Why even play that? There will be people that play that game now that are going to wake up and say, well, why don't I just get the real thing? Bitcoin. What is negative? What is a negative interest bearing bond? I mean, what really is that? It's what can it do? All it is something you sell to the next fool. This is real. So put that in. Look how tremendous that market is. $17 trillion. I mean, that's amazing. That's even compared to gold. So some of the people, they're going to have to stop playing that game eventually. I mean, the 20%er aspect of them will have to, but it is interesting to put that into perspective, that people are willing to buy into complete nonsense if they think they can sell it to another guy for more. And that they think that the negative interest rates are even going to go more negative, which they are, which is just crazy. But hey, I'm not complaining about it. Let the traditional finance people play that game, and it only will get smarter people into Bitcoin. I will just watch as it goes more and more negative, and hey, people will know how to benefit off of that, make the most of that situation, and use it to get Bitcoin. What's this? Data, this is from cryptoslate.com. Data shows Bitcoin interest, okay. Data show Bitcoin interest high in places with low economic freedom. That's not a shock. They are talking about the local Bitcoins, and we know that places that have not so much economic freedom, people are willing to go find out about local Bitcoins and get Bitcoin. A small percentage of the populations, the elite of the 20%ers, the ones who are actually thinking, thinking more so than the average 20%er in these countries. But if you look closer at the numbers, it's a little bit simpler. There's two sides to the why are so many people buying Bitcoin in certain countries. In the countries with the high inflation rates, like Venezuela, per capita, it's high in Venezuela and countries like that because they need it to get around inflation. And I am glad to see more and more people in these high inflation countries are learning about Bitcoin and using it that way. But on the other side, the other side of things, the complete opposite, people in wealthy countries like the United States and Australia that can experiment, that can trade, that can flip, that can do things with Bitcoin that you probably shouldn't be doing with Bitcoin. Valuing your wealth in fiat, using it as a way to get more fiat. In the rich countries, per capita, it is also very high. So we've got two extremes. And then there are countries in the middle, the boring ones. I don't know, the ones that are just trudging along. People aren't so wealthy. Those people need to wake up to it more. And that's a huge market. There's a bunch of countries just like that. They're not experiencing hyperinflation. They're not experiencing major inflation, but they're not rich enough to play these crazy games that rich Americans and rich Australians and rich Canadians are playing. And it would benefit them a lot in those type of countries. What's the name of a country like that I'm thinking of? Probably some Eastern European country or something like that. I don't know. Ukraine? I don't know. I know they have a bad economic situation. Maybe Hungary? I don't know. Probably Hungary, something like that. That sounds like a description. All right, moving on. What is this? No, I'm not going to read this one. This one takes up too much time. We'll do that next time. Oh, Matt Odell has a beautiful inspirational tweet. This century will be dominated by printable hardware and unprintable money. Pound that like button, dudes. I agree. I'm especially excited about the printable hardware that in space, when we send men into space again to Mars or Venus, they'll be able to print out, there'll be self-replicating machines printing, creating their own cells, printing their own doubles so that they'll be able to print more. And those machines will be able to print, their purposes will be to print the useful tools in space, whatever that may be. I can't even fathom what you'll need in space. Printing replacement parts for spaceships and all that stuff. All right, but yes, I love that tweet. We just went Saturday on that. We just went beyond Bitcoin when I started talking about self-replicating machines. I was confusing a couple things. I will mention that next time. Okay, we will conclude with this. This guy likes attention. Faketoshi loves his attention, and he was recently at a conference, and he got ripped on pretty nicely. That was good. But there was someone in the audience that went crazy and started calling him a mole, and it wasn't a good look on that person's part. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you call the dude a mole, that's actually like a compliment for him. And it's conspiratorial at the same time. No one sent that dude anywhere to be a mole. He's not even mole level. He's just a dude that wants attention and wants to and is a psychopath basically. So a mole is a compliment, and the person was screaming that he was a mole. That's not the way to do it. The best way is just to ignore him and I thought that. So people have asked about, what do you think about the latest? Yeah. I don't think much about the latest. I think more of the person screaming out you're a mole. I think that was ridiculous, because that dude he's not even a mole. He's used. No one would send him in as a spy on Bitcoin. There are no Bitcoin moles. People, you're paranoid if you think they send people into the cryptocurrency space to spy. They couldn't make a difference. Moles in the Bitcoin space, what could they do? They could make people weak-handed. What's that going to do? That's too bad for them. There are people that spread all sorts of FUD in the space to benefit whatever interest they may have in altcoins or in whatever, and let them do that. Let people spread FUD and nonsense. Let Faketoshi spread his nonsense. We politely say, no, it's clear that you're not who you say you are. And Bitcoin is the real Bitcoin. And, if you actually listen to the words the guy says, and it's like, I don't know how anyone could believe that. A word that comes out of the dude's mouth. But anyway, we've got 10% of the cryptocurrency space is prone toward becoming cultish. Maybe that's just the way the general population is. And I have learned a lot about human behavior from being in this Bitcoin space, from being in this cryptocurrency space. The darker sides of human behavior, the cultish sides of human behavior. It's quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing, but hey, this is where the big boys play. So you got to take the emotion out of it. Yes, it's disturbing that people want to believe in cults and Jim Jones type of people, but hey, you worry about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Don't waste your time on worrying about these cultish people because they can't do a thing to Bitcoin. And finally, no, Roman says, have you ever seen Jim Jones at a conference? No. I don't go to those type of conferences that would invite him. Those are more really ICO type of thing. I went to that one in San Francisco in 2008 that was like, crypto and ICO stuff. But no, that was a one-off type of thing for me. I wouldn't say never that I wouldn't go to one of those. I don't go out of my way to go to events like that. I love to go to events like here. It's just a bunch of Bitcoin people 50 Bitcoin people getting together. That's the type of thing. And he would never be invited to something like that. 50 a Bitcoin meetup would never invite an ICO type person or a altcoin guy that a fork of a fork of a fork, or someone pretending to be someone in the space. All right. Vention says, I knew Vention would say this. I'm not good because Vention believes in this conspiracy nonsense. He says, sorry, Adam, I have to disagree. There are conspiracies and collusion everywhere. Being aware of it only allows you to plan accordingly. I think it's a waste of people's time. Just waste people's time to worry about stuff like. But you could do that. I mean, it's everyone's choice to, people can worry about what they want to worry about. But I mean, there's usually the simplest answer is the right answer. People complicate so many matters. No one can be an expert in every field, and there are so many fields out there. So when people are confused by something that's going on in a field, they make up a conspiracy about it. They make up their own story about it to explain away something that is quite reasonable to people who understand what's going on in that field. And in this day of the internet, we have so many people spreading nonsense about so many different fields that they don't understand. And so, I mean, you got to be able to filter that stuff out and realize that sometimes, most of the times, if you're dealing with something that you don't fully understand, you're not an expert in it. Defer to the experts, see what the experts say, and don't get caught up in the people that like to come up with all sorts of nonsense stories about every single aspect of life that they have no clue about. All right, so and I want to say something about moles and the government sending moles people. On one hand, we have the reality of when you go to the post office and when you go to the Social Security Administration and when you deal with any government bureaucrat, and you see the way they manage this financial system and you see the way they manage all the government infrastructure, you see in reality, no one can deny this, in reality, how inefficient and stupid the government is, okay? In reality. Then in make-believe land, everyone comes up with these theories about how smart the government is and how the government can intervene in anything and infiltrate anything. Okay, so in one aspect, we have reality where we see how stupid the government is. And then we have all these other people who want to put the government on a pedestal and say they can send moles here, they can send this person here, they control this industry, they control Zuckerberg, Zuckerberg's a plant. I am a believer in the power of the brain of the individual. You might not like certain individuals out there who become billionaires or almost trillionaires, but they've done it. They don't need moles. They don't need the CIA or the FBI or whatever. The CIA, the FBI, all these government institutions, the Social Security, they're all the same. They all got bureaucrats. They are weak. And when people say they're moles and they're these conspiracies that they've done this, that, and the other, the deep state, the this, the that, it's a waste of your time. Live in the reality. Look at the post office. Look, you control yourself, okay? And people like Zuckerberg, when they were in Harvard creating Facebook, people like Bill Gates, all of them dropping out, they realized that. They realized there's nothing holding them back. There's no conspiracies out there holding them back. They are going to do what they're going to do, and they create. And again, with we have Amazon.com. What's his name? Jeff Bezos. He's not a conspiracy. He's not a mole. He's not this, that. He's not a government plant. He is going way beyond the government. He's creating his own space agency. Look how inefficient NASA is compared to Elon Musk and all these people. So that's my take on, and I've shared this beforehand, but I lately, since Gabriel was on the show last Friday, and he brought up the Bowie bot. I'm not even going to say the thing. And I've got people again say, well, the Bowie bot was right. And Gabriel made a quote, and he said the Bowie bot was right 50% of the time. Why was Bowie bot right 50% of the time? Because Bowie bot said it was right 50% of the time. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Anyone, you can make there are all sorts. My little nephew can make predictions about Bitcoin and get them right. Okay. And no, Bowie bot is not worth 50. It's not right 50% of the time. It's not right 50%. What people only remember when these so-called predictors get things right, they never go back and talk about the things they get wrong. That's just the way of the world. People, if you're a big predictor and you're big into your charts and everything, you reinforce to everyone, look what I got right, look what I got right, look what I got right. And people fall for it so easily. And then they repeat it. Oh, look, he got it. He's right 50%. He's right 50% of the time. He's right 50% of the time. I think people, I'll say it as politely as I can. It is a tremendous waste of your time to want to believe in magical predictors. It's a tremendous waste. Use your own brain. Use logic and reason. All right. I am Adam Meister, Bitcoin. Roman Q says, I am not worried about the conspiracies led by the likes of AOC. I'm not worried about the conspiracies led by likes of AOC. I'm more worried about how to acquire my next Bitcoin. Yeah, you should be worried about how to acquire your next Bitcoin. But I also want to clarify something. AOC is not involved in any conspiracies. She's just an envious person. She states what she wants to do. She says, tax the rich. She wants to steal from rich people. That's not a conspiracy. That's not a conspiracy. That's just, some people are envious. Lots of people are envious. Lots of people want to do bad things. Those aren't conspiracies. It's all out in the open. And many Americans like socialism. Many Americans are envious. Many Americans want to steal from rich people. It's no conspiracy. It's no grand plan. It's no grand plan. It's based on reality. Envious, stupid people out there want to steal. That's just life. So that's better. It's better explanation than, ooh, it's a master plan by the elites or want to tax so there's no more middle class so they can control everyone. No, that's not it. People, middle class people, lower class people, upper middle class people, they're jealous. They want to steal. They can't manage their own money, so they want the government to take care of them. Is that a conspiracy? No. It's the way. Collectivism is the default. Individualism is the accomplishment. Some people don't want to be individuals. Some people want collectives to solve all the problems for them. And again, that mindset goes into the conspiracy theory people. They want some grand collectivist explanation of how the world works. Okay, that that all the evil done to them is because they are helpless and they're a part of some collective that they cannot control, that the elite control. No, you're an individual. You control yourself. All right. Pound that like button. This show went way too long. And I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, but you never know what you're going to get here. Retweet it. That's how you support the show. And I'm a little out of it still. Again, I can't tell what time it is. So pound that like button. See you later. I'm the Bitcoin Meister. Click on the squares. See ya.